Hello. With popular demand came this video. It's the E-100 tech tree review. Now, this tech tree, I feel, is one of the most visited tech trees from new players. I myself, this tech tree was my first tech tree grind, and my E-100 was the first tier 10 I've ever had in this game. And I have kind of a special connection with this tank. It had some ups and downs with it, and I wish to review it today. And I hope you enjoy this video. This tech tree is consisting of the VK36, the Tiger 1, the Tiger 2, the E75, and finally the E100. Okay, so I am here joined by ULTRAFIED, which is another YouTuber. He makes great content. Please make sure to check out his channel. He makes
Thank you.
he makes cinematics and World of Tanks Bullets skins, and I think they're beautiful, and they're high definition as well. Okay, so first, we're talking about the VK36.01H, and you like playing this tree a lot. And what do you think about this tank?
The thing is, I went the E-100 by using the Panther line, so I had two tanks to grind, which is beneficial for me. It consumes less time, to get two tanks. So I didn't really have experience in the VK36. However, I did play it in my alternative account, it's really thick now. It used to be quite irrelevant, but now it's just one of the few best heavy tanks of tier 6 when compared to the Tiger 131, Kuro Mori Mine, and the new Winter Tiger, which is coming for the Battle Pass. It's a really interesting tank, a very thick turret, very thick side armor. The only weak spot for that thing is the upper plate and lower plate. The upper plate is of course available by premium only. And other than that, it's a comfortable tank to play.
Yes, I really like the tank because of its armor. The recently was buffed. Well, it was actually quite a while back, and the armor got completely stupid. Now it's 100 millimeters of armor frontally and 80 in the sides and the back, and it's gonna be really hard to penetrate the tank when it's angled. And what you will find in this tree is actually angling is one of the main things to do. You need to learn the skill of angling your tank, the correct angles of angling your armor to its optimum effective thickness. If you achieve this, then your statistics with these tanks will go up astronomically. Mainly because the VK36 and the Tiger have vertical armor plating on the front, so when you angle that armor, yeah, you're gonna have some really good bounces, and you're gonna block a lot of damage in future games. And about the VK36, what do you think about the speed?
And the speed is okay. It's not really bad.
Yeah.
Considering its armor, it's really good.
Yeah, the speed is
I
not
mean,
that
it
bad.
can go 50 kilometers per hour if it can reach that at least.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fake news in terms of statistics in this game. So the DPM is okay at 1849 with what's it called, gun rammer. The penetration is also decent with 145. It could be better. The reload is 7 seconds, which is a little bit faster than some of these heavy tanks that have similar playstyles, such as the Tiger 131 or the ARL. Well, the ARL 44 is more of its own class, but it's generally the same concept. So
It's the same concept, yeah, it is.
yeah.
With a higher pen. That's it.
Next question: what do you think about the play style? Like, there's really only one, right?
There's only actually I'd say two.
Two.
Side script and hull down, because the turret is absolutely thick. The gun depression, I think it was 8 if I'm not mistaken. 8 degrees of gun depression. If I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna go recheck.
8. Yes, it is 8.
Yeah, it is 8. So it is a good hull down monster, but compared to the ARL 44, the KV1S, it is more thicker than those two tanks.
Right.
Statistically speaking, even if you use premium shells, it's less likely you're gonna pen that mantlet. It's really thick.
Right, right. And well, other than that, well, the VK36 I feel performs really well in battles, especially, it also shines against tier 7s because of the gun it has. It can do 200 damage easily, and I think that's important. You don't see many tanks that do perform well against a higher tier counterpart, and tech trees which have that kind of trait should be um, paid attention more by new players, and and veteran players at the same time. All right, so next we're moving to the Tiger. Well, almost everyone knows what this tank is. I mean, it's just so iconic. Oh! Ew! What the fuck? What do you think? What do you think about this tank, Ultra?
In my opinion, this tank is quite fast for the type it is. I mean, the power to weight ratio is really good,
Mm.
but this comes with a con, alright? The armor for if you use 8 normal standard shells against the Tiger one, you'll see red. But if you're using any premium shell, even if you're a medium or a light tank, you're gonna penetrate it non-stop. This thing is basically a box. There's not any angled positions of this tank. The lower plate is of course the obvious weak spot, but we're talking about the overall armor. The turret is quite thick because frontally, yeah, it is angled. It is a quite of a circular shape. But there's of course a downside. So the upper section of the turret is tenable by almost everything, especially heat.
Mm.
By AP, there's still a chance of ricocheting because 3 caliber rules. The gun manlet is penable by APCR if you use it.
Right.
But other than that, the gun is pretty good. I think mainly using this tank is just to go to the medium position. Just go to the medium position. It has the speed, it has the gun. It's pretty good for that position. If you fight against other heavy tanks, especially up tiered with like 252Us, especially, you're not treat those. You're not gonna have a good time with that.
Yes. Well, as I said before, the Tiger one puts a heavy emphasis on angling your tank, and by doing this, it will greatly improve your statistics on this tank. There was one point in which the Tiger 1 and the Tiger P respectively received a buff which made them stupidly broken. It would have a 5-second reload. Well, below 5 seconds actually.
Go below adrenaline.
Which is stupid in itself. I don't know why they did that, and they raised it again, which is okay. It's still a really amazing tank to play. And comparing it to the Tiger P, the T29, the Nameless, which are in a sense, a similar playstyles in which you have to cover certain parts of your tank, so that are that surface weak spots, and have similar damage values. And I think the Tiger performs better than these tanks. Well, it's clearly shown here in the statistics, but it really is one of a kind of a tank to play. And if you want to really know the concept of armor, then if you want to know the concept of armor as a beginner in this game, then taking the Tiger 1 early seems like a good choice for the player. And
I agree with that.
I feel that there are two main playstyles on the Tiger, which are the medium flank playstyle or the heavy tank support. What do you think about that?
I'd say heavy tank support. It is okay being a heavy tank support. But if you're against like upper tier tanks, just go to the medium lane. You're not gonna do any good there, because you're basically gonna fight 120
That is
millimeters,
true.
and everything is gonna penetrate you like butter.
Yeah, using it does have very good speed at 44 kilometers per hour. It does actually reach that speed, but just don't turn too much because it just doesn't work. You'll lose a lot of speed when turning. This is prevalent in most heavy tanks.
Terrain resistance is quite bad in this thing.
Yes, and if you use this against mediums, a lot of light tanks and medium tanks at tier 8 have really bad penetration values, so you can most likely be able to bully them along with the 5.5 second reload that you have with this tank. Yeah.
I mean, using the Tiger 1 in the medium lane, especially fighting against tier 8s, it has the same HP as the Panther 2, and it basically has the same reload values, DPM. It's practically a medium when it comes to fighting tier 8s.
Yes, I completely
So
agree.
I truly recommend having this tank in the medium lane. It's a must, I guess you can say.
And then yeah, well, generally 2,400 DPM for a heavy tank is incredible, actually. For a tank at this tier, well, of course it has a little bit less armor than its counterparts, but still, it's fascinating. And that's it for the Tiger 1. Alright, next is the Tiger 2, which is also an iconic tank. And, besides the game, I think it's completely overrated. But it is an absolute monster at tier 8 and scary at tier 9 as well. Yeah. You have a new 105mm gun, which does exceptionally in this tier, and it does have very nice penetration values. So how do you play this tank?
In my opinion, you can go hull down, you can go side scraping in this thing. It's okay in those categories. Side scraping, you're gonna have quite a big problem with the upper plate. There's a small weak spot there, but I don't think most people can even hit it because of the side scraping and teasing them.
Okay.
It's not gonna be 100% chance that it will be penetrated, but still, it is a good side scraper.
Right. Just a side note. When you want to grind the E-100 line, for those who are watching this, if you want to grind this tree, then just take into mind that you will have mostly a side scraping, angling your tank, or hold down style gameplay. So if you do not like that, do not take this tree. If you want to do something else, then do not take this tree. And yeah, moving on. The speed is actually quite okay on this tank. It's 38 kilometers per hour. It's faster than a lot of its counterparts, which have similar playstyles, such as the T32 and the KV4. So, how do you think the Tiger 2, performs like compared to the T32 and the KV4?
Well, the T32 has an impenetrable turret. I'd say that at least.
That is
the
pretty correct.
T32, the KV4, they have two things, and that they are inaccurate. They are very inaccurate for the type of gun it has.
Mm.
They do have armor. They have their advantages. Like the KV4 is a much better side scraping than the Tiger 2 itself. But Tiger 2 has the speed and has the DPM, even the penetration, if we can include that. It's mainly a good tank compared to these two. It's very similar to them.
Mm.
Hull down, yeah, of course T32 still, but
Yeah,
they don't have a very thick tracks, which increases the chances of bouncing a shot while side scraping.
that's true. And well, I haven't seen too many VK4502s in many tier 8 games that I've played. It seems to be performing quite well whenever I see them, actually, because, well, they are actually quite scary, but people don't really know how to use the full power of the tank. And in the end, the Tiger 2 is better because the 4502 doesn't have the angled armor. Well, it does, but it's not as deep.
VK44 has a higher skill point than the Tiger 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
So yeah, this is an honorable mention. If you want, if you want more challenge in your gameplay, then just grind the tree which has the 4502, which is the tree that leads up to the VK7201. These are incredibly, skillful tech trees, and if you want yourself a challenge, then this is totally the tech tree for you. The Tiger 2, I think, is it's gotten very easy to play over the past 6 months, actually, because it was buffed in terms of armor. Although it was nerfed, it's still very good. It retains some of the buffs that it has. Yeah, and
it still performs very good.
I remember when they buffed it, I couldn't even penetrate the lower front plate with my IS-6 using premium ammunition, which I thought was completely ridiculous, but I don't know, let the viewers decide on that. Other than that, there's so we're gonna move on to the E75. Alright, now we are talking about the E75, which is just a Tiger 2 in a sense, but just so much more armor, and it's a fantastic gun, actually. You've enjoyed playing this, right?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed playing this, especially as a newcomer. It's really accurate. It's really thick. But since I have more experience now, the thing I would like to say is that against tier 10s, especially if you fight against calibers like 140 plus millimeters, you should really avoid showing your front. Despite having that troll upper and lower plate, it's really thick. Against premium shells, like especially heat mainly, you are going to suffer from absolutely non-stop penetrations because heat does not ricochet; it instantly sticks into the armor. So side scraping it's of course again a good thing for the Tiger 2 line in the E75. It affects on all the E100 line, It's really good on that. It has a speed. It has a speed. It can reach it, but it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah,
The
that's
gun
the
handling,
main things.
gun
Yeah.
handling is satisfying, especially when you do like high rolls like 480, 500. It's really satisfying when that happens. Penetration 246, really good. It practically has the mouse gun. It shares the same gun with the mouse chin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
Mouse
it's the
chin or
same.
the VK-45. It is the same gun. It is the same gun.
Yeah,
She
and
has the same gun with 3 doors. So once you've researched one of those guns, it will share with the VK-45B or the mouse chin, which is gonna ease you in a later grind.
right, and well, comparing this to the heavy tanks, that have a similar playstyle in its tier, which would include the M103, the ST1, and the 4502. This tank actually, it seems to perform worse. However, uh, well, this tank can essentially be in almost any position that you can imagine. With 8 degrees of gun
It can.
depression, you can hold down easily, and you can really, really put some hurt, especially on tier 8 heavy tanks. They cannot do anything to you. The only thing you really need to be careful of in tier 8 is the tank destroyers, and that's in limited numbers as well. This would only really include the ISU 152, the ISU 130, and the Scorpion G. I can't really think of anything else that could actually,
I'd say as well the SU 101.
yeah,
SU 101
never
because
forget
of the
that.
heat penetration of 349, if I'm not mistaken.
And yeah, against tier 10, I don't know. Against tier 10, of course, it's gonna fucking suck, but it's always.
Well, not always. Against mediums, it can still bounce the lower plate. It's really angled.
So, in terms of playstyle, so are you trying to say that in tier 10 you should try to go medium side?
Against tier 10s, yes, go medium
Well,
side.
it does have 40
Against
kilometers of forward speed, which I think is absolutely fantastic for a tank that's.
tactic for a tank like that, yeah.
Yeah, this heavily armored. Yeah,
I mean, compared to other tanks like the VK-45, ST1, and Malshin, none of them can reach that speed. None of them.
that's true.
Even the 103, none of them can.
And a lot of them have, technically worse effective armor because
Yeah,
they're not as
they have
angled.
worse.
Yeah, that's basically the E75. So moving on to the E-100. It is a very unique tank in tier 10. Well, it puts itself from most of the heavies. What do you suggest to people when they play this tank, Ultra?
Most likely, side scraping is the only choice. It can go hull down, but it's not really a guarantee. You still have to angle your turret even when you're hull down. It's really effective when you do that, though.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, let me just put the side note here. When you play German heavy tanks, they like having square turrets. And if you play heavy tanks like the E-100 or the Mouse, then you really need to learn that skill of angling your turret in the right direction whenever you're fighting someone, when you're not able to fire at them. Because the armor can be easily penetrated because it's near vertical armor plating and it doesn't have any effective thickness. So if you don't learn that skill, then you're gonna really have a hard time playing these tanks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, and well, this is another side note actually. The camo that Wargaming they developed, the legendary camo, the stalwart, is probably one of the best looking camouflages. What do you think?
Yeah, it is the best looking camouflage,
Yes, yes,
in my
yes.
opinion.
Yeah,
And the fact that they also darken the tracks to suit the color of the tank, it's fantastic.
and you did make a skin for this E-100 yourself.
Yeah, I did. The E-100 Elite Edition.
Yes, it is featured on the replay that will be on here right now. I think it looks really nice. You should check out some of his cinematics where he does feature this skin and many other skins that he makes specially, actually, specifically for these cinematics.
Mhm.
Yes, and okay, let's move on to the gun. Actually, the gun is absolutely amazing. And what do you think are the special parts about this gun that can be noted?
Well, there's two guns, which is the 128 and the 150 millimeter.
Yes,
150 millimeter is
you must never use the 128. That's something I tell to everyone.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes. That's quite big. Impressive.
yeah. In Blitz, you should never use the 128. In World PC, it did got buff and it's practically very good. Yeah, but in World B, it's a whole different matter. The 150 millimeter is just more user friendly, especially if you run calibrated shells, which makes your HE 94 millimeters of pen.
Oh, hello there!
That's really helpful and very, very situational. Heat increased, of course, and AP, so you don't really have to worry on non-penetration shots. Your reload is very long, so you need calibrated. It's really more important.
Yes, and yeah, the high explosive is, yeah, again, very nice. And against medium tanks, they're pretty much all dead because you can put in 1,800 or 800 to 1,000 damage. And, you know, sometimes in case you're lucky, you get the high roll, which is 1,200. And that's like tank destroy level damage. It's absolutely fantastic. And you can find this amount of damage on a heavy tank on the VK72.01K, which is a much harder tank to play. However, it has, you know, essentially, you know, the same gun on it as the E-100, and you'll still have this much fun. Yeah, and it has slower reload. You still have a lot of fun putting shots into enemy tanks, dealing easy 500 to 600 damage per shot. And
Correct.
yeah, so you mentioned that there were a hold down and side scraping playstyle. Well,
Yeah.
can this be taken into medium tank? The medium flank. I don't think that's possible.
It's not really possible with this. It no longer has the speed like 40 kilometers, and the power to weight ratio is, I think, by far the worst for tier 10. I think, I'm not
Wow.
really sure.
Yes. I'm comparing this right now to the mouse, the VK7201K, and the IS7, and the E100. It seems to have the worst power to weight ratio. This is actually kind of a problem, because when you get to be the last person alive on the team chasing another person, and if that person happens to be a, you know, a medium tank or a light tank, then you're pretty much fucked. And
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and it's very hard to try to counter that. Well, you can capture the base, but that's, you know, it's only under circumstance where you can achieve that. And well, the E-100 is one of a kind of a tank. It also has well, the armor has been buffed in the past year or so to the front, I think, where
the front on the turret.
you could easily penetrate the turret cheeks and stuff, but now you cannot. And I think people, still try to aim for the cheeks, which obviously you cannot penetrate unless you are a little bit in a higher ground. So yeah, to counter this tank, actually, I failed to mention this in the other tanks that we've been discussing. The way you counter this vehicle is just, you go around it, or you get a higher ground, because the very slightly angled turret front is actually negated if you do that, and you can achieve penetration, probably even with standard rounds, and it would be easily neutralized as long as you don't take a shot. If you take a shot from the E-100, that's pretty bad for you, because it's a good chunk of HP taken away.
Yeah. Despite even if it has like 2,700 HP or 2,900, it's still quite a chunk taken out from you.
And if you're in a medium tank or anything like that, you're gonna really have a hard time trying to fight this thing in a 1v1.
Now, one thing I forgot to mention, that I did the top 9th highest damage in this tank, which is 8,843. Now, the way I got that much damage is just by playing as a support. That's the only way you could get that damage. It's a good support vehicle, despite being a heavy tank.
So who do you support? Like just other heavy tanks, or?
Yeah, support the other heavy tanks. Do not play aggressive in this thing. Be the second line. Don't be in the front line.
That's true. With the mobility and traverse that it has, when it gets overwhelmed, when you make a mistake and overextend into the enemy lines, then you're not gonna have a good time. So better to conserve that and just sit back and just lay some 15 centimeter fire. Well, while playing this tank, I really did enjoy the gun. So that's one aspect of this tank that kind of sets it apart from every other heavy tank, because no other heavy tank basically has a 15 centimeter cannon apart from the 72. So
now, I'd like to say that this tech tree line is much more newbie friendly than the i7, to be fair. Due to its accuracy, it's just fantastic.
The i7 may have armor, but the gun is just not good enough to...
The gun isn't good enough, yeah.
Yeah, you'd really have to wait a long time. So yeah, I mean,
E-100 should be a better choice.
as I said before, the E-100 was my first tier 10 premium. Not premium, tier 10, just tier 10 tank. It was a joy to play. Well, yeah, that's it for the E-100. Thank you, ULTRAFIED, for coming to join me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yep. And bye.
That's the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope it served as help to this current topic, and I'll be seeing you next time.
Let's go. Nurse?